Hey, it's Felice, totally awake, and I'm back with another video. If you're new, then welcome. Now, today I wanted to talk about one of the governing body members, one of the leaders, of Jehovah's Witnesses, talking about so-called apostates. Now, we know those are just people that leave, that wake up from this cult organization and realize it's not actually the truth. So let's just see what he had to say. Check this out.
Today's printed comments consider how Satan has blurred people's view of Jehovah. Satan has blurred their view or blinded people by means of apostate teachings and by seeing to it that God's name has been removed from many copies of the Bible.
Okay, Kenneth Cook. So first things first, Satan was not needed for so-called Jehovah's people to have their vision blurred of Jehovah. You and your homeboys, y'all did that well enough, okay? It's you guys, the governing body. You are the ones with the flip-flopping doctrine. You are the ones with the outrageous rules, the unloving, evil rules of shunning and, having people die, refusing life-saving blood, and, the CSA, where kids are not protected because you protect the criminal, with your two-witness rule. You are doing this. This is why people are turning away, because they're finding out who you truly are and who's truly running things. And it's not Jesus and it's not Jehovah. They have nothing to do with this. Furthermore, Jehovah is a made-up name that you have admitted in your literature watchtower that you began to use because it was the most popular, acceptable name for God, There was a Catholic monk that made that name up, all right? Do your research. And as far as Jehovah's name being taken out of the Bible over 1,000 times, that is not true either, There is so much that Jehovah's Witnesses lie to their members about, and they really have them thinking that this is the truth. When you start to do some research and start to look into historical facts, you realize that you have been lied to by Watchtower. They inserted all of those Jehovah's in the Bible. How could Jehovah's name be in the Bible that many times and that name was made up? They inserted all of those Jehovah's. So no, the Bible hasn't been twisted and Jehovah's name taken out and all of this foolishness that y'all make up. They were never in there. They were never in there, guys. Do some research on that.
For this morning's discussion, we want to consider a related concern, and that is, what current and future events in Satan's world could blur our view of God's kingdom if we're not careful? With each point, we'll tie in the principle found in these words in Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 23, where it says, "I well know, O Jehovah, that man's way does not belong to him. It does not belong to man who is walking, even to direct his step." With this in mind, we're going to look at how widespread protests, political promises, and claims of peace and security could distort our view of God's kingdom if we're not careful.
Oh, so that's what this is about. The protest that's coming up October 31st, on Halloween in front of the White House. Y'all getting wind of that, huh? Y'all scared. You scared, Kenneth Cook and all your homeboys, all the rest of the governing nobodies. Y'all scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. If you so scared, go ahead and change your policies, your abusive policies. That's making people take their own lives because they're so harsh, They're so evil and mean and cruel, You don't want nobody to come out there and talk the truth about y'all, and then you bring out the scripture in Jeremiah talking about man directing his own step. Who do you think you are, Kenneth Cook? You and the governing nobody. Y'all think y'all God, don't y'all? Because y'all are still men trying to direct people's steps. Let God handle that. Let Jesus handle that. Because Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Not you. Not your other governing nobodies,
First, widespread protests. When protests sweep through any country, there's often someone leading the way with a very loud or persuasive voice. True? And their message usually touches on something that many see as an injustice. Whether the protest involves dozens, hundreds, or thousands of people, most of the protesters are followers, and they repeat a message or slogan. The problem is that the solutions they seek are human solutions. Recall Jeremiah's words, "It does not belong to man, even to direct his step." What danger do such protests pose for true Christians? The danger is this: if we get caught up in the spirit of popular protests, even slightly supporting a cause, even silently within our heart, we could find our view of God's kingdom growing dim. What in turn could that lead to? Well, when people in the world lack clear direction or hope, their hearts often start to be filled with anger and rage. A servant of God can feel such things too, if he or she loses sight of the kingdom.
As they should. Jehovah's Witnesses should feel anger and rage because they have been lied to over and over and over and over again by these men that call themselves God's channel, Christ's brothers, when they can be kicked off like Tony Morris. He's no longer Christ's brother, okay? Obviously, evidently, they done deleted his stuff off of jw.org, but that's a whole nother video. Let's stick to the topic. This dude is basically saying, for the protest that's coming up, Halloween in front of the White House, even if you feel like shunning is wrong, even if you feel like, people shouldn't be losing their lives over this misinterpretation of the scriptures, even if you feel like, a second witness should not be required when a child says that he has been hurt, he has experienced CSA. Even if you feel like they should be reported to the police, and F a two-witness rule, okay? Because that's what they have, a two-witness rule that basically protects criminals because they do not call the police when a child says that it has been hurt, okay? He's saying, don't go to any Black Lives Matter protests, because you may feel in your heart that it's not right the way Black people have been treated, time and time again, the police brutality, you may think that it's wrong, but in your heart, but you don't even need to feel that in your heart. Just wait for God's kingdom. God's kingdom, the one that y'all preach about, y'all don't even preach about the same kingdom that's in the Bible. So no, I'm not going to wait on that. If I can make a change now, if I can be a part of trying to make some type of change now, to trying to make some type of statement now, then I'm going to do it. And you don't tell me what to do, Kenneth Cook. Where does it say in the Bible that you shouldn't protest? It doesn't.
Consider for a moment what happened to those who followed after King David's son, Absalom. The Bible explains that Absalom objected to his father's rulership, but he did more than that. Through cunning words and actions, he gathered a following. You can read about what he did at 2 Samuel chapter 15 and verses 2 through 6. He promised the people justice, and verse 6 says that Absalom kept stealing the hearts of the men of Israel. In other words, the people got caught up in his message. Eventually, those who joined him turned violent, and the outcome was disastrous. Yes, even the hearts of those who worship Jehovah can be stolen or captured, or as today's text says, led astray for a misguided or bad purpose. So that is the danger, and we can be certain that Satan knows it. There's no question that Satan is right now using various messages of protest to direct people away from the real solution, God's kingdom.
It really is a shame that here he is trying to demonize protests. Protests are something good, okay? Protests are usually done because something bad is happening and you're protesting against it, right? Or because of some type of freedom, right? That we're trying to gain. I mean, you're going to tell people not to protest, is make it seem like it's demonic, and then you're making it seem like, oh, yeah, it's following people is so bad. They got a following. It's not so much that people are following people. They just feel the same way. One person orchestrates the protest, and if you feel the same way, you join in. That's how that works. It's not about following someone, but you, though, you and the rest of the governing body. Do you realize that you all have a following? So-called 8 million, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with your following. Please get out of here. Then you want to scare people talking about how violently protests can end and this and that. Not all protests end violently. I think that the governing body is violent with their rules. They're just so evil, and the way they make people feel, that's worse than being violent to me. Y'all rules literally kill people. Refuse a life-saving blood transfusion. You really literally have a whole gang coming in there to scare them. Called the hospital liaison, right? The no blood hospital liaison. Yeah, that's all crazy. You reminded me to kill myself. Reminding somebody, yep, kill your child that's just born for whatever complications they have. Don't give them no blood though. Let them die. Let them die. But you worried about somebody being violent. I'm scared of y'all. Y'all just want to keep people silent, and that's dangerous.
And Satan will cast his net wide to try to capture some of Jehovah's people if possible. To avoid that and remain focused on the kingdom, we must not forget what Isaiah 42 and verse 1 promises about Jesus. There it foretells that he will bring justice to the nations. He will, not humans. As king of God's kingdom, Jesus is the one who will bring what sinful humans can never bring, real justice for people.
Sometimes it gets hard because I don't want to be adding the entire video, but sometimes what they're saying, I just have to comment on just about everything, and then it makes the video extra long, but thank you for being here with me. Now, what I just have to say about this is I think it's kind of antagonizing, to victims of, let's say, CSA, or victims of, your blood policy, your no blood doctrine, people that have died or maybe have lost their loved ones. It's antagonizing to me for him to come off that way, to just say you're never going to find real justice with imperfect humans. Like, imperfect humans can't help you find real justice, but imperfect humans, okay, the governing body, you're the reason why people need justice, because of your rules and doctrine that they're following. That's evil, okay? That's ruining people's lives.
A second thing that can blur our view of the kingdom if we're not careful is political promises. Is there no end to the false promises that people will make when they want power? And even when politicians try to fulfill some of their promises, they often fall short on the wisdom and the resources to do it effectively. Political powers can only provide short-term human solutions at best. They often cave in to popular and immoral thinking. Their thoughts are so distorted that they have difficulty seeing right from wrong.
Wow, they sure do love talking about themselves, don't they? They are the ones whose minds are so distorted that they don't know right from wrong. They don't even know, not to shun people. How unloving is that? But they call themselves Christian. And then you want to talk about power. You want to talk about false promises. You are the ones that make all the false promises. You know why? Because you want power. So there's no end to your false promises because you want power. You want the control, the mind control over all of your so-called 8 million followers, okay?
They face long-term problems, including social unrest, that they cannot permanently solve, and no amount of money can fix it for them. Again, we recall Jeremiah's words, "It does not belong to man, even to direct his step."
Do you see the emphasis that he puts on that scripture that he's cherry-picked, okay? It does not belong to man to direct his own step. And he'll really get in the mind of a Jehovah's Witness, and they will really not think about the fact that they are still allowing men to direct their steps. If it doesn't belong to them, stop letting men direct your steps, because that's what you're doing right now. Okay? Just wait for Jesus to come back and think for yourself in the meantime. That would seem logical, right? I would think so. All right, so I just kind of skip forward a little bit. I'm not really going to play too much more here. I'll just talk over him because he's not really saying nothing of value or important. He's just basically doing some real good fear mongering right here. He wants to fear monger. You know, they're a genius at that. And he's just basically saying that no matter what, you know, whether you're offered food, water, good roads like they did back in the day, you know, still stay faithful to the lie. Stay faithful. Do not let anything compromise your faith to us. You know, he starts to fearmonger, talking about the peace and security, how they're still waiting for them to say that. And he's still acting like that's just right around the corner. They've been saying that since I was a little girl. I've been waiting for them to say peace and security since I was a little girl. This is just a bunch of fear mongering. People got to live their lives, okay? And we have to fight for what's right now. Okay? We can't wait on anything, anybody, okay, to fix problems that we can take in our hands right now today and make changes, okay? We can come together now, use our voices, use protests to make changes now. Changes that are needed, okay? This religion hurts people. It hurts children, okay? It allows children to be hurt with their policies and their rules. It allows their members to just pass away as a sacrifice to this cult with their blood doctrine and other things as well, but mainly their blood doctrine. It's evil. It's not of God. It needs to be stopped. They need to be stopped. So protest October 31st in front of the White House. Bump what he talking about, okay? All right, y'all. It's Felice, totally awake. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think, and I'll be back with another one. Bye.
That whenever it is that they, the political powers, are saying peace and security, then sudden destruction is to be instantly on them.